Hi everyone, Erica here, AI for the Average Joe, season 4, episode 5. And we are recording on, I think, what is a record-breaking day in the UK for sweltering temperatures of 35 degrees. I don't know what it's like on where you are, Melanie, but it looks pretty hot there too. So I'm sat in my office at the moment with fans blasting and hoping it's not going to get too hot. But we're going to have a great conversation today. And as I've already mentioned, today's guest, Melanie Martinelli, and we're going to be unsurprisingly talking all things AI and learning transfer. This is going to be a really good one, guys. So buckle up, grab a cup of coffee, or in this heat, perhaps maybe a cool martini or something like that, and enjoy the next half an hour. Hey, Melanie, how are you?
Wonderful. Well, like you, also sweating. I actually wish I
Oh,
had a cold, maybe a Pimm's. No, that's a very British drink I
that's
learned last year.
nice.
Or an espresso martini in that case, given the heat
Yes.
here. We have 35 degrees as well. I also have a fan in front of me, so it looks like we share something here. It's just way too hot right now.
Yeah, and I mean, us British, as we're known for, we moan when it's hot, we moan when it's cold. We like the Goldilocks
Yeah,
bit in the middle, right? So
yeah,
is it
it
the same
is.
with the
It
Swiss?
is.
I don't
It's just
know.
because we don't have AC. We don't have AC. So like when you live in
Yeah.
the city and it gets over 30 degrees, it just gets too hot. I mean, but people know when it's cold, when it's hot, I guess everyone just kind of wants that perfect middle of like 25
Mm.
degrees, which
Mm.
unfortunately we kind of skipped this year. We went from like 12 to 30, it seems.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, well, we can't moan though. The sun's
No.
out, so we've obviously known each other a wee while now, and I'm really excited to have this conversation on Average Joe, and it's going to cover something which is obviously your expertise, all things
Yeah.
evaluation, learning transfer, and I'm really interested and curious to understand what conversations you're having around the impact of AI on that right now. And I know we've explored it in kind of conferences, sort of light touched it, but let's maybe go a bit deeper today and get people really thinking about how they can, I guess, level up their learning
Yeah.
transfer.
Yeah.
And you've got your levers model, for example, and the evaluation piece, which is always feels like, I don't know about you, but as an ex-L&D, was always a bit of a bolt on, if I'm really honest.
Yeah.
Can AI help us with that? I guess that's my question for today.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. It does. No, no, I mean, it's where do I start? So if I take it from the back, actually, because we kind of just said about evaluation, then I'll go to
Yeah.
the learning transfer
Because you've
because
been
I
doing
think
this for a long time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I mean, I kind of started with the evaluation piece a little bit more than 15 years ago. And I mean, I still remember those days where, crunching Excel sheets,
Yeah.
exporting data from forms and survey monkeys into Excel sheets, and then creating ridiculously complicated formulas to try and do the data analysis. And I think that's, for example, one of the cases where AI helps me a lot now. No matter, what tool you use, but I mean, I like Perplexity, for example, for that one
Uh-huh.
quite a bit. I use it a lot to analyze data, especially
Yeah.
qualitative feedback, because that's always been a challenge. You're collecting all this qualitative feedback, people reporting about how they're implementing things, the challenges they're facing. But when you're getting into the hundreds and thousands and 10,000s of data sets, how do you analyze that in a
Yeah.
meaningful way? And hey, now it's like a click with AI
Nice.
where I get themes, be it a world cloud or just the themes, that get analyzed. So I think that's definitely an area where AI has helped me and a lot of our clients
Yeah.
to make more sense of the data we collect, because so
Yeah.
much data just gets stored in cupboards and
It just sits on
folders. It
spreadsheets,
just
like you
sits
said, or
exactly. It's not
happy sheets,
actionable.
or yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I might generalize a little bit here, but most people of a certain personality or preference go into L&D. They like the people stuff, right? They
Yeah.
like the sunshine,
Yeah.
yellow kind
Yeah.
of people
Yeah.
connection. We're not typically analytics numbers
No.
people. So it's a great case study for kind of I talk a lot about doing more of the work that you love and less of the
Yeah.
work that you don't love, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I think it's absolutely true. There's very few people I've met that are in L&D that actually really say, yes, I love evaluation. I mean, I know I'm a little bit of an odd one out here because I came more from a business finance background. So number
uh-huh.
crunching was kind of my passion. And then through a lot of the impact studies I did early on, I realized that a lot of times the impact did not happen. And then I got really passionate about the transfer piece, which is really what I focus on today. But that really only kind of happened after. But even in transfer, AI, I mean, that's probably the number one question I get nowadays is about AI coaching. I think AI
Okay.
coaching, I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
back again from a conference in the US. The week
Yeah.
before, I was at a large conference in Karlsruhe. And I mean, you're walking around on the expo floor, and it seems like almost every second booth, maybe actually not like even more,
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
offering
Yeah.
something around AI coaching. And
Okay.
so I get a lot of, I get a lot of questions by clients. So, what do you think about that, Mel? Is that really going to help with transfer? Is that really the answer? And it's a little bit of a yes and no,
Uh-huh.
because when you look at transfer and why transfer doesn't take place, there's so many. I mean, you referred to it before. We use a so-called 12 lever model, which is based on hundreds of years of research around transfer, coming down to the 12 most significant factors that impact transfer that you and I can also do something about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, AI coaching is mainly targeted at more practice. So let's say you have difficult conversations, you have negotiation skills
Yeah.
where people just need, as we know, a lot more practice to
Yes.
really master those skills.
Yeah.
And coaching is a very expensive
And
format.
quite elitist. It's normally the senior team,
Exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so with AI coaching, you can make this available to a
Yes.
much larger population. But as we said, it's when the transfer gap is connected to skills or
Uh-huh.
like a lack of confidence, and people just need more practice.
Yeah.
But what if the transfer gap is connected to something totally different? What if the
Okay.
transfer challenge is connected to a lack of motivation? What
Oh.
if the transfer gap is connected to a just no time, a lack of
Or a
time?
blocker, like a process or a bad manager or
Exactly,
something
a
like
bad
that. Yeah.
manager, a bad process, and all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I say yes, AI coaching is an absolutely wonderful tool. And I love it how it actually kind of makes coaching, which was earlier so elitist, available to a much bigger
Yeah.
part of the population. But it's only going to work if the problem in transfer is actually connected
Yeah.
to a lack of confidence and practice and
Yeah.
opportunities to apply. Because then with AI coaching, we can fill that gap. But
Yeah.
there's other transfer barriers that can exist where AI coaching is not going to be the answer. So
Yeah.
I'm always a little bit hesitant, that one size fits all, that one solution fits all. We got to
Absolutely.
make sure it's the right solution for the right problem.
Oh, 100%. And I'll always say to people, what's the problem you're trying to solve here? Why are
Exactly.
you implementing
Yeah.
AI? What's the
Yeah.
strategic goal it's aligned to? And a lot of
Yeah.
people struggle to answer that question,
Yeah.
let alone understand what that means for learning transfer, for example. So,
Totally. I mean, I always like to say, and it's actually, I copied it from someone that I did a webinar with who kind of said, you got to fall in love with the problem. And L&D is way too much in love with the solution. And that's
yes.
a little bit my problem, without any offense. But I do feel with AI, or just like with any new shiny tool technology that comes
Yeah.
out, we get too hooked on the solution. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, AI coaching, solution for everything.
Yeah.
No, let's first find out what the actual problem is. And if the problem is, as I said, that people lack the confidence to apply the skills, they would need more practice. They would need to kind of practice a lot more of those difficult conversations,
Yeah.
feedback conversations, conflict management, whatever you want it. Then, yes, then let's bring in AI coaching because it's the
Yeah.
perfect solution that can help with it.
Yeah.
But as I said, if we find out that the reason people are not applying is because they don't have the systems, they don't have the time, they don't have the motivation, or they just don't have the energy, it's a
Yeah.
volition problem, then let's not push them even further
Yeah.
with AI coaching because that's just going to be a burden. And
Yeah.
also, it's not for all the skills. When we are training someone on technical stuff like frontline workers, again, we got to ask ourselves, who are we looking at? Who's our audience? What's the problem we are trying to solve? And then pick. So I see AI coaching as another tool that I can add
Yes.
to my transfer toolbox,
Yeah.
but it's not the one that's going to solve
It's
all
not
my
the
transfer
whitewash of
barriers.
everything, is
No,
it? I like
no,
your tool analogy because you wouldn't use a hammer
no,
to unscrew a screw,
no,
for example. So why would you use AI to try and fix a broken process that sits in the operation director's
exactly.
department, for example?
Exactly.
So
And we
yeah,
know from transfer research, that one of the biggest blockers to transfer is the environment. It is the
right.
lack of support of supervisors.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like we first got to tackle that very often
Yes.
because it's if not, we are only focusing on the learner, him or herself. But if the problem sits somewhere else, that's just going to be demotivating because all you're doing is, I keep saying, come on, Erica, do a little bit more coaching, just
Yeah.
keep practicing, practicing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all you're
Yeah.
thinking is, oh, great. I mean, I've done this now 100 times. I'm getting good scores on my for my AI coaching part. It's just my supervisor that doesn't
Yeah.
encourage me. So the thing is, it can actually also backfire if you're
Yeah, and then
using
I
the
feel
wrong
like I have to have a
solution.
difficult conversation with my supervisor because I'm being put on the
Yes.
spot, and then that kind of is a whole can of worms, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. But I think
yeah,
also, I mean, there's also, and I mean, I know you, of course, I'm much more of the transfer evaluation geek and you bring in the techie a lot more. But from what I see and with I always say limited understanding of AI, but the way I use it, what I love as well when I walked around at a lot of the expos and I spoke to people is how, with the help of AI, I can also personalize
yeah.
a lot of my transfer interventions a lot more and make it
Okay.
available in the moment of need. So, I mean, I'm also playing around with that for one of our programs, like when people have questions in the moment, we just don't recall. Like one of the transfer barriers sometimes just also is that we don't remember. I mean, who
Yeah.
remembers all the information? And
Yeah.
earlier we had to go and scroll through our heavy content libraries. And I
Yeah.
mean, this is another very simple use case for AI, just the AI chatbot
Yep.
where I can just quickly ask the question
Yeah.
and it gives me the answer. And I think
Yeah.
that's very useful as well because
That's very in the flow
sometimes
of work
it's
stuff as
in the
well, isn't
flow of
it?
work.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I like a lot. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the flow, like I have that even for our own community. Like I'm working on that. We have an entire toolbox with loads of different tools you can use to make transfer happen. And so when people are designing a transfer journey, it has loads of different tools they can pull from. But sometimes people don't, remember everything. And so they're in the
Yeah.
process of designing. Then you can just go into that toolbox,
Yeah.
ask the AI, chatbot, hey, can you just quickly remind me what content relevance is all about? Or what are the
Yeah.
2, 3 things I need to keep in
Just give me a
mind?
nudge on whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's that aspect we've, for years, I mean, we've been speaking about the need to learn in the workflow.
Yeah.
But I think we knew that we should do it, but it was very hard to do
We
because
didn't
we
know how
didn't
to
have
do
the
it.
tool.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I
for
think that's
sure.
where AI
Yeah.
comes in again.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. The amount of times I remember heading up operational training in a large financial services company, and the amount of times I was batting away, senior managers that will come to us to say, oh, we've got a new shiny widget. We need to do that training in the induction. And the
Yeah,
induction was already too bloody long, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. And I'm thinking
yeah,
these guys aren't going to remember a third of this, let
yeah,
alone the new
yeah,
shiny widget that needs to
yeah,
come. Whereas you can feel how the AI can go to that frequently asked questions or
yeah,
that content library, like you said, or that this is what you need right now. You don't need that, and that. You just need this bit here. Crack
yeah.
on. So yeah,
Exactly. I think this
nice.
is, those are things where I feel it's AI is really giving us now the the technology in that sense to actually implement a lot of things we've always wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
implement. Like we've always known that coaching is such a powerful way to help people,
yeah,
especially around certain skills, difficult conversations, and other
yeah.
things, just to practice these
Absolutely.
conversations. And I mean, we know it. I mean, if you're doing a training and you do role plays, again, the role play is only going to be as good as your counterpart role playing. And I mean, funnily, I always say, on the other hand, AI costed my husband his job to a certain extent because my husband he's an actor, I mean, he does other stuff,
Oh,
but
of
I
course. Yeah,
met him as
yeah,
a business role player. So
yeah,
I used him like 15 years ago as a role player in my sessions
yeah,
to help create better role play
yeah.
scenarios.
Yeah.
And then also for people to have access to him after the session if they
Yeah.
wanted to keep practicing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because as an actor, he was able to bring alive that difficult conversation in a much more
Yes.
realistic way.
Yeah.
And so we've known this for a very long time. But one of the biggest pushbacks from clients back then was budget and scalability. And that
Yes.
with AI now is so much easier to do, which is
It's
great, you know?
yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, and I want to get your take on L&D's view on this space, because whenever I have this exact conversation around democratization of practice, skill, knowledge, all of the things we know AI can do for us now, our very close friends in L&D, particularly those who are self-employed, who make their
Yeah.
living out of this
Yeah.
stuff, tend to have a bit of a threat reaction to it. And I know we're all on that journey and the change curve and all that, whatever
Yeah.
methodology you want to put to it. But you're right, from a client perspective and a learner perspective, which is what we always say we're all about, it scales and innovates. It allows everybody to have that coach, that tutor, that trainer, rather than just the
Yeah.
exec and -1, or typically whatever it is. Or if you're lucky enough that year to go on a management course, or when you do have an
Yeah.
actor or facilitator. What's your view on kind of where L&D is positioning itself in that space at the moment?
I mean, I get it. And I think I know and a lot of people hate me for usually saying that I'm just a total optimist. Like, and I always like my glass is just full. It's not even half full, but
Yeah.
I
And we
just
love that
have,
about you,
you
Melanie.
know,
We love that about you.
I don't know. It's just like it's whenever, yes, of course. Like I can see how AI, and as I said, I use my husband as an example.
Yeah, that's
He
really
doesn't get
personal.
he doesn't
Yeah.
get any gigs anymore. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't get any gigs as his business role player anymore because
Yeah.
that part is kind of disappearing because
Yeah.
technology can do it
Yeah. Yeah.
better,
Yeah.
cheaper. I mean, yeah, better. We can still debate, but it can do it in a much more scalable way and affordable in that sense. I just always say when things like this change, we got to focus on what is in our control. What can we
Yeah.
do that the tech cannot yet do? And I think, one thing we've been talking about for so long, I mean, the first thing when I started in L&D close to 20 years ago, and then especially 15 years ago when I found my niche in evaluation and then
Yeah.
transfer, you need influencing skills and partnering with the business skills. And
Absolutely.
very often we say we don't have time for that because we are
Yeah.
so busy creating content, busy
Solutions, solutionizing.
solutions,
Yeah.
exactly, or busy. Like I was always busy crunching data in Excel that I didn't have
Yeah.
time for all these important conversations. I
Yeah.
think there's a really beautiful opportunity for us to up our game and
Oh,
become,
100%.
and I know it sounds cheesy, it's a word that's thrown around on LinkedIn all the time, these strategic business partners, but I think there's a truth to that. In the end of the day, yes, in any tech revolution, and this has happened for as long as we can remember in
Yeah.
humanity, some people will be left behind. That's
Yeah.
just a reality
Yeah.
because certain jobs will disappear, but there will be new jobs that are
Yeah.
created. And when I look at just even the last 6 months, the amount of available time I all of a sudden have because certain things are being taken care of that were pretty time intensive. Like before, for example, I was so busy always creating these transfer journeys and personalizing them to my
Yeah.
audience. And now with the help of tech I can do that so much quicker. It
Yeah.
actually allows me to have that time for the important coffee chats with senior leaders, the breakfast meetings, the lunch
100%.
meetings, the real conversations of bringing people together, aligning them on what are our priorities. And all of a sudden, that time is there. And I think that's the opportunity for us to become more strategic, a little bit like the conductors, bringing
Yeah.
everyone
The
together.
architects, I call it,
The
change architects.
architects,
Yeah.
exactly. I call it like the transfer conductors
Yeah.
because,
Nice.
like we can create the awareness around
Absolutely.
it. We can get creative on solutions of how to bring the supervisors on board,
Yeah.
which very often before, I heard people in our certification program always telling me, Melanie, what you're teaching us all makes sense. I get it. But where's the time for
Where's
that?
the time?
I have to
Yeah.
design role plays. I have to design slide decks. I have to, kind of analyze data, like all these things that kept them busy. And now that stuff can kind of be outsourced.
Do you think that's the red herring though? Do you think sometimes that's the excuse if I use that word in that way to be a
Yeah.
bit provocative. I don't know.
Yeah, I think because it's also scary. Let's face it, even though we all work in L&D and we talk about growth and opportunities and learning, we all stuck in our comfort zone
Of course we are.
because you know what? I'm going to be very honest with you as well. I mean, developing a slide deck, that's easy because I've done
Yeah.
that for 15
And
years.
it feels a bit geeky and it feels a bit kind
Yeah,
of pet project-y and kind of like
yeah,
you get a bit of a
yeah.
dopamine hit off it, don't you?
And
So
I mean, I also have to be honest, like, I mean, even though it was time consuming, but at least I kind of knew how Excel was working and I kind of knew how I needed to crunch the data. When I started using some of those AI tools to analyze data, I was lost. I was
yeah,
lost. It was difficult. I got very
yeah.
frustrated sometimes because I also realized my prompting skills were not good enough in the beginning. So I got really
Interesting.
shitty outcomes of some of the data because it gave more emphasis on outliers. So, like, I had to really learn. And let's face it, learning can be hard because you have to get out of your comfort zone. You kind of feel like you're starting again from scratch, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And so I think that's the challenge as well. I think there's an opportunity, but the opportunity is not just going to be there free. It requires investment.
yeah,
Investment in terms of upskilling,
yeah,
stepping out of comfort zone and making mistakes, putting
yeah.
yourself out there, acknowledging that you don't know it all,
And being okay with that and that
and
not
be okay
kind
with
of
that.
our identity linked to our ego, linked to our power, linked to our resources, or that, this is it's starting to pick at some of that
Yeah,
stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But so I think, to that question you said, I think there is an opportunity for those who are embracing like what's happening around us to also kind of rethink of, okay, where the time that gets freed up by kind of automating certain things that I've been doing before manually, leveraging the tech available, what does that allow me to do that I was never able to do? And I mean,
Yes.
I'm going to, like, again, I'm sure, no model is perfect, but when you think about time management models, like
Yeah.
the famous kind of Eisenhower matrix, I think it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
called,
yeah.
that talks about important and
Yep.
urgent. And very often we don't get to that important stuff. We are just always in the urgent stuff, kind of
Yeah.
firefighting. And I think there's maybe an opportunity to actually really kind of get that taken care of so that we finally have time for that more important stuff, needs analysis, stakeholder management,
Yeah.
yeah, just all that kind of
Developing our
stuff.
team if we're in a
Developing
leadership
our team.
role.
Exactly.
And also, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be work related stuff. It's what I call the AI dividend. Like,
Yeah.
actually, it means you can stop work earlier and do
Yeah.
the school run.
Yeah.
Or if you've got a
Absolutely.
health condition,
Yeah.
you can rest more.
I love
Or,
that.
whatever your thing of choice is
Yeah.
that you want to spend that
Yeah.
time on,
Yeah.
headspace, not so much of the cognitive
Yeah.
load,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So you're bang on. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah.
I love that what you just said because I think that is so important. I think there's an opportunity as well for us, to maybe rethink what we measure success with.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like if I can get my job done in 6 hours, well, great. That means I have 2 hours available to play, in my case, Lego with my kids.
Nice.
Like total Lego freak at the moment. So like, actually, maybe I
Which
should.
Lego? Lego Star Wars? Lego Batman?
Star
Or
Wars
just
and Ninjago. So I
nice?
always have to play this really bad. I have to. There's something called the Forbidden Five, some Thunder Fang, some bad dragon. So I have to
Oh,
play the bad
wow.
dragon. Yeah.
Love it. Love the imagination.
No, but it's true. Like, I think
That's your
it's
AI dividend. That's
that's
what
the
it gives
AI
you that
dividend.
benefit. Yeah.
Exactly. Going to the gym, like I'm a
Yeah.
total gym freak. So if it
Yeah.
gives
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
time to actually go to the gym every day because I have energy left, like coming back to transfer, like one of the big transfer barriers is linked to volition. And that is that simple concept of, in the morning we get up, fully motivated. Yes, today I'm going to hit the gym. Then the day hits, loads of things are happening. And by the end of the day, you're so exhausted that there's no
Yeah.
energy left to go to the gym and you end up
Yeah.
on the couch eating chocolate or chips.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if by the smart use of technology, I can actually save some of my energy and hence have that energy left to do the things that I really want to do. That's
Yeah.
great, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Perry Timms calls it like your battery. So work
Yeah,
should fill your battery,
Yeah,
not drain your battery. So
exactly.
when you do
Yeah,
have time for family or friends, you
yeah,
have a full battery,
yeah,
not a drained battery. So
absolutely.
it's all
Yeah,
the same. It's the what's in it for me. It's the intrinsic motivation. It's all that good stuff, isn't it? And I think sometimes, certainly learning development and HR, I've been very guilty of this, particularly in corporates. We forget people are people.
yeah.
And I think sometimes with
Yeah,
AI enablement, we've forgotten people are people. We've gone straight to the tech user piece and jumped over the hearts and minds piece. So,
yeah, yeah. And I think this is, I mean, this is a very important aspect because again, also in transfer, and I think this can be one of the aspects why maybe people also are hesitant to use. I mean, there's all these AI adoption programs being
yeah,
rolled out, and you keep
yeah,
hearing how some of them fail as well. I mean, there's also stuff around relevance, are you really teaching people the stuff they need to know? But I think part of it is also the motivation. If
yeah.
people are scared that the AI is going to take away their job, why would they want to
Why
learn
would
about
I
it?
learn it?
Exactly.
Exactly,
Transfer
exactly.
motivations. But if we can get to something about what's in it for me and actually kind of show how this is not about taking away your job, but it's about making your job easier, especially those we all have tasks that we hate do that drain our
Yep,
battery.
yep,
And if we can especially start using it for those things,
yeah,
and then we start realizing the benefit, it actually then, kind of recharges our batteries. I think that's when we have
yeah,
that with him, that famous with him, all L&D always talks about in training. We
yeah.
got to find that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a theme here coming through, Melanie, around how courageous we feel in L&D, how we can look
Yeah.
internally and take some of our own medicine, how we can start to, it's easy for us to say, you are the learner, you need to learn this,
Yeah.
you are the delegate, you are the team member. We don't, again, just reflecting back on my time in corporate, I didn't often kind of go, well, what does that mean for me?
Yeah.
How am
Yeah.
I coming across? Am I fixed mindset here or growth mindset
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
What do my stakeholders think of? And yeah, you do the whole 360, give me some
Totally.
feedback, which feels a bit icky at the best of times. But actually, I think it is time, if we feel uncomfortable with not buying into evaluation or transfer or AI or whatever it is, I don't think we've got much of that luxury anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one other thing as you were talking that just kind of, as I was kind of thinking about also, that success of any AI adoption program, for example, why people are pushing back.
Yeah.
And I think this is something I'm also hearing quite a bit. It's not like people openly talk about when you kind of are more in the one-on-one conversation, small groups, is also this fear of admitting that you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because like it's kind of when you go on LinkedIn or out there, everyone just kind of seems to be mastering AI. And like I think when we talk, about transfer, it's also very important that we provide people with an opportunity to talk about possible barriers to apply so that we can
Yeah.
remove them. And I think this is also something we're kind of, I feel sometimes jumping here, that
Yeah.
we talk about all these benefits and what AI can do, but I think also about understanding what barriers people might have, what
Yeah.
fears, because I think there's a lot of people also afraid, and I know I was for a while, admitting that I feel overwhelmed because it's kind of, it feels like AI shaming almost, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I heard once a speak, I don't remember where it was, but it just kind of really resonated. And I also still, I have a side gig at the local
Mhm.
university here in Basel. And so I spoke to some of my students about it, and it was very interesting how it resonated because it spoke about how, especially the younger generation, experiences a lot of that because everyone expects the younger generation to just master AI. Because, hey, you grew up with AI,
You're
didn't you?
digital native. Yeah.
Exactly, you're digital
Yeah.
native.
Yeah.
And they actually find it very hard to admit if they don't master because they feel they will be laughed about
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's kind of this expectation to
Yeah.
society that they master it. And
Yeah.
I think this is when, when we are linking again AI and transfer, a really important thing to keep in mind. If we want people to apply anything they've learned, be it AI or any other skills, we got to normalize barriers, talking about them
Yeah.
early on. We got to normalize it that it's actually normal that you don't have straight away 100% success,
Yeah.
that you're gonna fall off the bike, you're gonna bruise your knee, you're gonna make mistakes, and there is a learning curve.
Yeah.
And the more proactively we can talk about that, that's when we can also start removing those barriers, because that's a big thing in transfer as well. People start now talking a lot about, yeah, we need impact, so let's measure whether transfer took place. The thing is, there's no point only measuring after 60 days. You got
Yeah,
to monitor and adjust, and you got to keep in touch with people, talk about what difficulties are you encountering, what barriers are you having so that you can intervene
yeah,
when needed. And I
yeah,
think that's another thing I feel is kind of sometimes left out in this
yeah,
entire conversation, especially around AI, that people are almost ashamed to admit that they're
yeah.
struggling with it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. What that's one of the biggest barriers, and just listening to you talk, there's feels like massive alignment between. I guess we're talking about change, effectively,
Yeah,
aren't we?
yeah, yeah.
So, starting to wrap up now. I can't believe how quick this conversation's gone. Before we wrap up, Melanie, what if you had to give kind of one kind of key practical piece of advice, and it can be transfer and AI, transfer or AI, whatever comes to mind. Or what is your kind of regular counsel that you give to L&D about the one thing that they can do right now that is going to make a difference to their practice, to their experiences, to transfer, to, the what's the problem that I'm looking to solve thing. So,
Yeah, I think probably just inspired by that last piece we discussed. I think my biggest advice is be it AI adoption or be it any skill adoption. Like if you
yeah,
want your people to make use of anything you're teaching them in, no matter which format, proactively think about what possible barriers they will have at the
yeah,
job.
yeah,
And then think about together with them, how can you remove them?
yeah,
Like it's don't expect transfer to just happen as a
yeah,
miracle.
yeah,
Like there are barriers, and it's very important to think about them proactively because they can be different for each person, for each topic. And then
yeah,
only can you find the solution. So, like, I
yeah,
think it
yeah.
goes back to what we said quite early on, fall in love with the problem, before you
Yes.
fall in love with the
The
solution.
solution, yeah. And sometimes
Yeah.
that feels a bit more difficult than what we're used to, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, I think a
So,
solution we all want to, I think that's another thing, knowing L&D, a lot of us get into this without stereotyping, but I think a lot of people in this field, we go into this field because we want to generally help people.
yeah.
We
Yes.
are passionate about growth and helping and caring and stuff. But sometimes that can actually be our biggest
Yes.
hindrance
Yeah.
because we think we know it all. We have the
Yeah.
answer. We get really excited about the solution, where sometimes all we need to do is just listen.
Listen. Yeah. Bang on.
Uh,
Melanie, if people want to know more about the work that you do, the Learning Transfer Institute, your book, your courses, etc., I know you do amazing things out there around the world. How do people get hold of you? What's the best way to contact you, and all that kind of good stuff?
yeah, so I guess probably LinkedIn. I think I
Yeah,
am,
good old LinkedIn.
that's, good old LinkedIn. You might like it, hate it. But no, I think if you type in my name, Melanie Martinelli, you'll find me straight away on LinkedIn. I keep posting a lot about what I'm passionate about on how to make transfer happen. And
Yeah,
so I
and the
think
12
the
levers,
12
really practical for
levers,
people, right?
exactly, and
So,
also AI powered tools to help with evaluation that we
yeah.
are working on. So, I mean, I think that's where you can just contact me and find out more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be if you're not contacted already and connected with Melanie, absolutely recommend that's what you do straight away. For a good conversation, for thought leadership, for that piece that we don't always find natural in learning and development. I knew it was something I had to work extra hard on, and
Mhm.
thank God AI allows me to crunch numbers in my business now because I absolutely hate it, but I love the narrative that it gives me. So
Exactly.
there you go, another alignment. So, Melanie, thank you so much for today's
Thank you, Erica.
conversation. Lots of richness there for people to take from. And again, I think I probably say this at the end of every episode of Average Joe, but again, a totally different way of thinking about stuff for people to take away and implement. So, thank you so much for watching today's episode. Thank you, Melanie, for being today's guest. Fantastic. And I'll see you on the next episode of AI for the Average Joe. Thanks so much.
Thank you.